I will now take the sediment for this meeting of the Planning Local Review Body held on the 20th of February 2023. Following members are present: Councillors Ali Callison, Jerry Convery, Mary Donnelly. Councillor Gladys Miller, Mark Horsham, Leslie MacDonald, Richard Nelson, Norman Ray, Dr Ali Salamati and Graham Scott. Thank you. I will now pass you back to the Chair for today's business.
Thank you, Stuart. We'll go to the agenda. I think that will be the best place to start this morning. Agenda item number 1, any declarations of interest? No. Item 2, minutes of previous meeting. I'll move these minutes.
I'll second them.
Anyone otherwise minded? Agreed, thank you. Okay, we'll go to where I was the last time. Agenda item number 3. So it's an item from notice of review from Laura Jameson, being asked for the PLRB to review the planning officer's determination to refuse an application for planning permission in retrospect for the erection of a gardening building for use as a beauty salon at the Twetch Dwelling House within the Kyle Park Conservation Area in Uddingston at 12 Kyle Park Crescent. I'll ask the planning advisor to give us the background to this request for a review to the members. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. The applicant is seeking a review of the decision taken by officers to refuse planning permission for planning application P220292 for the retrospective erection of a garden building for use as a beauty salon at 12 Kyle Park Crescent in Uddingston. In terms of the site and proposal, it is located within the Uddingston settlement and general urban area and lies within the Kyle Park Conservation Area. The application property is a 1.5-storey detached dwelling house situated with a front driveway and shared driveway with rear garden ground. The property lies in a row of houses of similar design and scale within the Kyle Park Crescent Conservation Area. The application was sought retrospectively for an outbuilding in the rear garden curtilage of the property for use as a beauty salon. The building is finished in timber cladding with a flat roof with openings facing onto the applicant's own garden area. Access is obtained at the rear of the property via the existing driveway, and the rear garden is accessed via a gate. The building measures approximately 9.7 metres by 4.2 metres and is positioned at the south-east boundary of the residential plot. A business plan submitted with the application states that the opening times of the beauty business to generally be Wednesday to Saturday, approximately 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. However, there may be times where it operates Sunday to Tuesday, and there are later starts, earlier finishes and later finishes. The statement outlines that clients will park on the driveway if there's no space outside, with the intention to have one client in and one client out. The application received 31 objections and 1 letter of comment raising concerns relating to increased traffic, parking implications, shared driveway concerns, the detrimental impact on the nature and character of dwellings within the conservation area, the business planning operating hours, loss of privacy, noise and disturbance, drainage and infrastructure, staffing numbers, safety and overdevelopment. 2 consultations were sought on the application, including roads, who note that the property is located within a 30-mile-per-hour residential area with street lighting and no restrictions, with car parking spaces available in the driveway of the property, and stating that the general impact of the development is suitable at this location with no objections. Environmental Services has no objections to the application, subject to conditions relating to noise, hours of operation and waste control, as well as advisories on health and safety, nuisance and smoking. In assessing this review, the local review body are requested to consider the following relevant policies of the South Lanarkshire Local Development Plan 2, which include Policy 2 on climate change. This states that the overall strategic vision is to meet the Scottish Government targets relating to climate change and the reduction of greenhouse gases, and any new development proposals should seek to minimise and mitigate against such effects. Policy 3, General Urban Areas, applies in this case, and this seeks that within the urban areas and settlements, residential developments should be on appropriate sites. Proposals for uses that are ancillary will be assessed on their individual merits, with particular regard to their effect on the amenity and character of the area. Particular consideration will be given to the likely impacts on the amenity, and they should not be detrimental to the amenity of residents or the wider community of the area. Policy 5, development management and placemaking, applies in this case, and this seeks to ensure that development takes account of the principles of sustainable development, and all proposals will require to be well designed and integrated within the local area. Proposals should have no unacceptable significant adverse impacts on the local community and the environment, and where appropriate they should include measures to enhance the environment and address the 6 qualities of placemaking. The policy sets out the criteria to ensure appropriate development management and placemaking. Policy DM1, new development design, requires to promote quality and sustainability in its design and layout, and to enhance and make a positive contribution to the character and appearance of the urban area and the rural environment in which it is located. New developments will require to respect the local context and be appropriate to the character and topography of the site in terms of layout, scale, proportion, massing and appearance of buildings, structures and landscapes. We have a high quality design which is sympathetic to the local traditions of form, detail and materials. Modern, innovative design can reflect local tradition through scale, massing, siting and colour. Ensure that any archaeological, built heritage and landscape features and nature conservation interests of the site are identified and incorporated into the overall layout. Development should address sustainable development issues, including incorporation of energy efficient designs and layouts, and the reuse and recycling of materials, wastewater and the use of alternative energy sources, and incorporate the use of sustainable drainage systems. Development should make provision for creating new or existing footpaths and cycle routes. It should ensure provision of green infrastructure and open space, ensure provision of an appropriate road layout and parking, and where appropriate electrical vehicle charging points, ensure there's no conflict with adjacent land uses and no adverse impact on existing or proposed properties in terms of overlooking, loss of privacy, overshadowing, noise or disturbance, and make provision for any building that the public may use to be safe and inclusive access for all people, regardless of disability, age or gender, incorporate crime prevention and community safety considerations, minimise the generation of waste, and where appropriate, a design and access statement will be required. In terms of further policies, policy DM12, working from home, applies. This policy states that where it's determined that the proposal constitutes a material change of use and requires planning permission, the planning application shall comply with the following criteria. A, there will be no adverse impact on the residential amenity of neighbouring properties in terms of noise, disturbance, smell, dirt generated by the business or by members of the public visiting the premises. B, there will be no adverse impact on traffic or public safety resulting from traffic generated by the use. C, there is no provision or there is provision for satisfactory car parking and servicing facilities. D, there will be no adverse impact on neighbours caused by taking place outside normal working hours and at weekends. And E, any required storage of materials and vehicles is satisfactorily accommodated on the site without any adverse impact on neighbouring properties. Policy NHE 6 conservation area also applies, which states that development and demolition within a conservation area or affecting its settings shall preserve and enhance its character. Members will be aware that the 4th National Planning Framework, known as NPF4, was adopted by Scottish ministers on the 13th of February 2023, following approval by the Scottish Parliament in January. This replaces the National Planning Framework 3 and Scottish Planning Policy. In terms of the review before members today, the relevant NPF4 policies, as noted by the Planning Service and as detailed in Appendix A of the Agenda Pack, include Policy 1, Tackling the Climate and Nature Crisis, Policy 2, Climate Mitigation and Adaptation, Policy 7, Historic Assets and Places, Policy 14, Design, Quality and Place, Policy 15, Local Living and 20-minute neighbourhoods, and Policy 26, Business and Industry. The Planning Authority have noted in their Statement of Observation on NPF4 that it is considered that NPF4 does not introduce any policy criteria that would outweigh the original planning assessment, which considered that the impact on residential amenity of the commercial use was detrimental to the surrounding area. All interested parties were given the opportunity to provide comment on the application in relation to NPF4, and as a result, 3 further representations were received, and these are listed and attached in Appendix 8. The applicant's comments on NPF4 and further representations received in relation to this are contained in Appendix 9 and generally state that the beauty room would not introduce a level of activity detrimental to the character of the area. In terms of the application, the proposed building was considered acceptable in terms of its layout, siting and design, However, the commercial use of the building as a beauty salon was considered not to be compatible with surrounding residential area, resulting in visitors to a residential street, and the introduction of this is not in keeping with the character of the locale, introducing disharmony to the existing amenity of the conservation area. The application was refused under delegated powers on the 7th of July for the reason that the development introduces a level of activity that is detrimental to the amenity of the area and is not in keeping with the character of the locale, and as such is contrary to policies 3, 5, DM1 and DM12 of the adopted South Lanarkshire Local Development Plan 2. In terms of the notice of review, the applicant requests the further procedure in the form of the hearing. 14 further representations were received and they're attached as Appendix 6 of the agenda pack. Thank you, Chair. That concludes my presentation on the notice of the review of 12 Kyle Park Crescent.
Thank you, Jane. As members will now be aware, from the 13th of February, National Planning Framework 4 was adopted and published by the Scottish Ministers. It now forms part of the Statutory Development Plan, which sits alongside the South Lanarkshire Local Development Plan 2. The next point for the PLRB to consider and decide is how we proceed with this review. The applicant has requested that one or more hearing sessions of specific matters would be the appropriate method of review for this procedure. Taking account of what is in our papers, we have to decide if they do in fact contain sufficient information for us to determine the review today, or if we need further written information, a hearing or a site visit. I think personally that the information we have, plus the detailed photographs we have of the site, does provide us with all we need to consider for this review, without either a site visit, hearing or further written submissions.
I'll concur with that, Chair.
Everybody agree? Agreed. MD online. Okay, do the members then agree that we go forward with this review? Agreed. Can I just summarise the points made? The application is for planning permission in retrospect for the erection of an outbuilding within the rear curtilage of the detached house and associated change of use from private recreational garden space to commercial beauty salon business. The adopted South Lanarkshire Local Development Plan 2 identifies the site as being within the settlement boundary of Hamilton. If we consider that there is no valid policy justification to support the use of the outbuilding as a commercial beauty salon business at this location, and it would not accord with policies 3, 5, DM1 and DM12 of the adopted South Lanarkshire Local Development Plan 2, permission can be refused. Or, if we consider that there is adequate justification for the location and use of the proposed development, we could grant planning consent subject to conditions. So our options here are to uphold or reverse, vary the planning determination, and I'll invite for any comments or reasons. Anybody online? Councillor Allison.
Chair, could I just ask, are there any other of these residential premises got business premises attached to them in this road?
I'll ask Jane to see if she can.
Thank you, Chair. We don't know specific site addresses of any other business uses in the immediate area. However, it was noted in the notice of review by the applicant that there were other businesses operating, but we don't have address or details of those.
Sorry, Chair, just to be clear, is that separate premises or from the house? Do you know?
Sorry, that, just to clarify, Chair, that wouldn't be from the application property, that would be separate premises.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further comments? Okay, are members minded then to uphold the officer's decision to refuse planning permission? Agreed? Agreed. Anybody otherwise minded? Okay. Therefore, the decision of the PLRB is to refuse planning permission as we are satisfied that the proposed development would be contrary to Policy 3.5, DM1 and DM12 of the adopted South Lanarkshire Local Development Plan 2. The next stage is that a written decision notice will be issued by the PLRB, and this should be issued within 28 days. Agenda item number 4, there are no items of urgent business. Thank you for attending this morning. Councillor Donnelly.
I'm a bit late in coming in. I wanted to ask a couple of questions.
Councillor Donnelly, unfortunately the matter is closed and it's been decided.
I'm accepting that.
Thank you. Okay, agenda item 4, there's no items of urgent business. I'll ask the clerk to stop the recording and thank you for your attendance this morning.
Thanks, Chair.